Good day to everyone. Today we are going to discuss the topic creating and maintaining tables in database management system. In this topic, we are going to discuss the content related to tables. A database has so many tables. So a database act like a container. We can create any number of tables within a single database. So this is something we already know about it. And now we are going to discuss the following content. That is how we are going to create a table with the help of a create table command in Oracle, and how a table is created with the content of the another table. That is, we already have a table, so we are going to derive some content from the existing table and making the new one. So that's the thing we are going to discuss. And parallel option. So parallel option make use of the several other systems or the servers which is possible to make a single table or execute the table content with the help of the parallel servers. So you can make use of the parallel keyword here. Then only it should be possible to make use of it, the options. Next, modifying the tables. So modifying, once the table is created, so we can do some modification in the existing table. That is, you can make use of the, if you want to change some attributes of the table, attributes of the table, or you can make some changes like adding column or deleting a column. So that's the thing. If you, what are the things you're able to modify, you can definitely do with the help of the command modify or alter table. So this is the thing. Consideration and limitations. Every object have its own limitation. So we can do certain things with the within that object, others can do. So the what is when it comes to limitation and consideration, what is the thing which is for tables? So this is the thing we are going to discuss. And deleting a column. So deleting a column or eliminating a column or adding or changing a column is also possible with the help of the commands in Oracle. Likewise, we can able to delete a table too. So this is about the topics we are going to cover in this lecture. So I just move on to the first slide of this particular topic. The first I started with the create table command. Create table command is used to create a new table in Oracle. So it has some following operations which I listed in this slide. First, definition of the column and a definition of the table organization, and integrity constraints, table space of the table, and the storage characteristics, how we are going to make use of the memory. It should be available with following parameters which is going to be listed in the next slide, and the optional clusters and the query data and the rate of parallelism and the definition of partitions and the arrangement by index or heap when it comes to access. So we can make use of this. So this is the command used to create a new table in Oracle. So create table is a keyword. After that, we can make use of other arguments too when we are going to create a new table. So create table command. With that, we move on to the syntax for create table command. So this is the basic syntax we just going to follow in Oracle to create a new table. Create a table, and after that schema name should be mentioned. So it's not a mandatory one. You can make use of the schema name. So schema name dot table name. So table name, it's a user defined name. You can give any name which is related to the content of the table, which is better. So just mention the table name. Within that parenthesis, open and closing parenthesis is already up here. So you can mention the column name and followed by data type. So give us a small space, one space with the column name and the data type. So you can give any number of n number of columns which is in the parenthesis with separated by comma. So I'm mentioning column 1 and the data type. So if you want to give any default value for that particular column, so you can mention that default and the expression followed by it. So next column name and the space and and the data type and the comma separator. So like that you can give column names within parentheses. So then you have the parameter PCT free and integer, and it should have an integer value. So that's why thing I mentioned is integer. PCT used and followed by the data type integer and initial transaction, maximum transaction, and a table space, storage, enable, disable, and the parallel, catch, no catch, recoverable, and unrecoverable. And so this is the syntax, and have some arguments in the create table command. In the next slide, we are going to discuss what are the arguments listed in the create table and the purpose of using that arguments within that command, create table command. So we go with the next slide. This is the arguments list which I listed in the last slide. First, we should start with the schema. It's an optional parameter again. The name, I'm going to create a table. The table belongs to which schema. So this is the thing I'm going to mention with the help of the schema. And the table name. Table name, it's mandatory. Without mentioning the table name, we can't do further process. So this is a mandatory field you should mention here. And the data type. So you can specify the column name and the data type. So up to 254 columns you can create it for a single table. So this is about create a table command. Not more than that 254 columns. So this is the just a huge account, but we can avail 254 columns within a single table. So default, so it's again optional. If you want to give a default value to the column, so you can make use of this particular arguments. Then you have the another one argument in the slide, constraints. So constraint, it is an optional. If you want to force some integrity control for a particular column, so you can avail this particular constraint option argument for a column. So each and every column can have different number of constraints. Based on the input, you can you make use of the integrity constraint which is already available, or you can create your own constraint using the constraints argument. Next slide, I'm going to continue the arguments list. Table constraint. So table constraint, I want to force some integrity control, but for the whole table. So before that, I just say I can, for every column you can force different constraints, but in the arguments table constraint, you can force the entire integrity control to the whole table. So it should be affected by the DDL operation. That is, you are going to make use of the whole table to should maintain the integrity constraint. PCT free, so this is an optional and indicating the percentage of data block will be reserved for future updating in the table. So the default value is actually 10. So but we can't, but we can have the option to edit that particular PCT free. So 10, it's not enough for me. So just I increase or just I reduce that value 10. So just like that you can change the PCT free. So next arguments PCT used. This is again an optional one. So minimum percentage of used space that Oracle must maintain before the data block is eligible for new insertion. So the default value for this is 40. Next, initial transaction. The default value is 1 here. So it should vary from 1 to 255. It indicates the number of transactions assigned inside the data block of the table. So next, maximum transaction. So indicates the maximum number of transaction can update a data block. So initial and transaction and maximum transactions are related, and a PCT free and a PCT use also related to that. Have some similar options or functions. So next, the list, the arguments list continues. Table space. So this is again optional one. It indicates a table space different from that used as a default. So table space is nothing but memory space we are going to allocate for the tables at the time of creation. Make use of the space, or at the time of processing or manipulating something, make use of the another table space. It's just an action to tell the particular user to make use of the space. Then only it should come. It should be able to manage the memory utilization of an optimum manner. So that's the thing about a table space. We are going to segregate the memory into so many table space, and we are assigning the table space with equal importance. So then only we can able to manage it perfect. Next, cluster. Cluster is again an option one. It indicates that the table is a part of the cluster. So when it comes to the general term cluster, so we are having um, the group of functions or group of members related to a same group have some similarities. So like that we can make use of the option cluster. So table, which part of the cluster I'm going to assign the table. So that's the thing about related to cluster. Enable, it's again an optional. It links the integrity constraints, and disable, again it's an optional one. It disables the integrity constraint. So once we created the integrity constraints, it should be active till the end, the deletion of the table. So if suppose before that I want to hold a integrity constraint for a period of time for some testing purpose, or to force data entry quickly, so just I for a period of time I can hold it. So with the help of the disable option, later I wish to continue the integrity constraint with the enable option. So there is a provision to enable or disable a constraint once the constraint is available in your table. So next we have the um, another slide, which is a sample of create table command. So I just shared the syntax of the create table command. In this slide I have the using all the options, that is arguments, which is available in the create table command. So with all the arguments I'm going to show you the create table command. So create a table is a keyword already. I'm mentioning that table name is employee emp, and the left side columns, left side data which shows the columns created for that employee table, and the right side content which shows you the um, data types and the constraint for each and every column which is created at the time of create table command. So first we start with the employee number column. So it have a data type number. Within the parenthesis I'm going to mention the size, and later on I follow with the constraints. So that is primary key constraint I'm following, and then employee name and the varchar2 data type within the size limited as 15, and I follow the not null constraint. So next I have the job column, and data type is varchar2 again. The size will be mentioned as 10. So that much of number of characters I can give as an input for the particular column. The manager column have the data type number with the size 5, and the higher date, date as a data type, and the default value is a system date. Uh, so this is the thing about that is if the user don't want to give any value, the system date is automatically copied and filled into that particular column. Salary column and the commission column has a data type number, and the size which will be mentioned as 7, and the um, department column. So department column have the data type number and follow the not null constraint. So if you wish to establish a relationship another table that is named as a referential integrity, we can make use of it. That is constraint department underscore foreign key references department table. So the EMP table is going to refer the department table. It's an add-on add-on thing for that particular table. So both the table, employee table and the department table have in a relationship. So it look like a parent table and a child table. So we are establishing a referential integrity now. So that's why I'm saying this parent table and a child table. The PCT free and PCT used and table space have some integer value for that is PCT free and PCT used, the default value which is already I mentioned in the syntax, and the storage, the initial transaction is for PK, and the next, yeah, maximum extends as mentioned here, and PCT increase is mentioned as 25, so enclosed within parentheses, which is related to storage arguments. So this is a example for which follows the entire syntax arguments which is available in the basic syntax. But every time we no need to give this much of data for creating a new table. For creating a simple table, we should give only mandatory arguments. So what are the things mandatory arguments which when it comes to create table command? So create a table is a keyword which is mandatory again. Employee name is mandatory again, and the number of columns and the data type of the column and the constraints of the column is mandatory. It's enough to create a simple table. So no need to give all the arguments which is listed in this example. So in the next slide, we are going to discuss how we are going to create a simple table. So this is the example for simple table. Create a table. Table name is new one, and the columns are listed here as first column, second column, and the third column. And the data type is followed by that column name, that is number with the size 4, and the second column the data types varchar with the size 30, and the third column and data type is date. Closing parenthesis ended with a semicolon. So the table is created. So that it should be enough to create a simple table. The structure of the table is derived with the help of the describe followed by the table name command. So through this we can able to check it the table is created perfectly or not. So it shows the message table created, but we are in the situation to check whether it is created successfully or not. So that's a thing. I will just execute this command describe new one. So it shows the number of columns and the constraints and the data type of that particular column like this. So now we ensure that the table is created successfully. Now we are in the situation to add data to that particular table. So in the next slide, we are going to discuss how we are going to add it. So again, I will add some more constraints in that particular table. Then I add the data. So that is create table. Table name is mentioned and the column names are listed here. First, second, third, and the data types are mentioned here, followed by the constraints that I'm using pk underscore new and primary key. Primary key constraints I'm created for that particular first column. So I mention a name for primary key, that is pk underscore new. It's an user defined one. When we are creating a procedure or a function, so if we wish to call a particular primary key, we can make use of the names pk underscore new. So default system date is the second column which have. So there is no special constraint followed for second column, but third column I am following not null constraint. That is null values are not allowed in the third column. So the constraint is enabled here. So once the constraint is created, it will be active. When we are trying to insert a data, then only we can able to find it whether it is working properly or not. So now I'm inserting the data. Insert command is used to insert data in Oracle. Insert into is the syntax again. We are following the table name. Insert into table name. Table name is new again. Values. Within that I'm going to pass the values. That is it's a number which represents input for first column, and there's a date object. This is the input for second column, and the third one, the character I'm going to give as an input specified within a single code. This is the input for third column. So once I execute this command, if there is no error in that particular command, syntax error, no syntax error means it will the one row is created. So this is the status which indicates one row of data is added successfully in the database. So then I'm going to add one more data. So this is the syntax for giving the next input to the same table. Insert into new again values. I'm going to pass the values, but note that there is second column input I'm not mentioning here. Just to give a simple empty space and followed by the comma, I'm giving the third column data. This is the command I'm going to execute. Unfortunately, it shows error to me. This is the error message which should be shown. That is insert into new again values. So the followed by the data. So error on row 1. So missing expression. So this is the thing. So how we are going to solve the particular error. So we will discuss in the next slide. So next, this is the way I'm going to resolve the problem. So insert into new again values. Within that, I'm going to pass the first column data, and I'm going to give single quotes, and within the single quote, I'm going to give a empty space. So before that, I'm just leaving the empty space without single quote. So empty space is also treated as a character. When you try to give a value, so just you mention the single quote. Whether it is a character or it is a empty space, you just make use of the single quote. Now one row is created successfully. In addition, we are going to specify the values for a particular column. So we can have any number of columns, but we can give only data for very important columns to for the sake of completing the data entry quickly, or I want to I want to collect a very few important data at the time of this process. I can make use of this syntax. That is in insert into new again. I have three columns in the table, but in the three columns I'm going to give input for two columns only. That is the first column and the third column. So I'm mentioning the column name within the parenthesis separated by comma. So like that I'm going to mention first comma third values. So in that I'm going to give values. So this is for first column input and this is for third column input. One row is created successfully. So I don't want to give values for all the columns. So this is about another type of giving input in a table. So next I'm going to give a input which I'm going to check whether the constraint is working properly or not. So insert into new again values. So in that I'm going to mention the first data, first column data and the second column data and the third column data. Note that I'm going to give null value for the third column. So then but when I try to execute the same line, it shows error. So insert into new again values. The value is passed here, but it shows error because it is not possible to insert a null value in the third column. I already create a constraint for that, so then only it shows error like this. So the only way to resolve this issue is just remove the null value for the third column and give proper value for that. Then only I can able to feed the data in the data table. So this is another example for create table command. Right now we are discussing that command and how we are going to insert data and the constraint which is already available Oracle constraint. We can make use of making use of it for columns which I have created. But in this is a special example for check constraint. So check constraint is here I'm showing two check constraint. The purpose of check constraint is if you want to create your own constraint, your own customized constraint, integrity constraint for your project, so you can make use of the check. Within with the syntax of the check command followed by parenthesis, within the parenthesis you are going to mention your constraints. So this is about a check constraint. It's a customized one. You can make use of it for inside the table. So create a table. The schema name is scott.emp. This is the emp table belonging to Scott instance, and the followed by that parenthesis, curve parenthesis. You can specify the column name and the data type and the primary key for the first column and the not null constraint for second column and the and check constraints and the uppercase upper E and upper underscore ed. This is two constraints for that employee name, and the check constraint which describe what the actions we are going to do. So the whatever the type the employee name which is entered, so you are going to convert into that uppercase. So this is the check constraints work here, and the job and manager and hire date, salary, or everything is mentioned as a column here and followed by the data type. So the next constraint is check salary greater than 5,000. This is the second constraint. When I try to give a value for that salary column, it always check that the value is greater than 5,000. Then only if I try to give values below 5,000, it never allow me to enter the salary. When I get right to when I give a value above 5,000, it will be entered successfully. So this is the thing uh, just the thing it enforces the integrity constraint in the table. The commission column and the department column so have the constraints as follows: not null and default null. So it refer the another table content, that is department table. So this is the another way of creating a table command with the help of the check constraints. So now I'm going to tell you how I'm going to create a table with the content of the another table. So I'm going to create a new table with the content of the existing table. Suppose I have the class of students data. Now I want to create a new table. Those who are getting percentage above 65 percentage or something. So I can have the whole class the students data. So nearly 40 to 50 students in a class. So I 30 students are having the value above 65 percentage means. So just I'm going to create a separate table for those 30 to 35 students. So using the as option, so as is a class here, when I'm going to create a select command with the create table command, I'm going to attain the create a table with the content of the another table. So now I show you the example here that is create a table with the new EMP named the table name I'm going to create is new MP with all the columns of the employee table. So the columns which is copied from the MP table, but the only thing based on some condition I'm going to create a content for the new MP table. So this is the syntax, just follow it. Create a table, new table name is new MP. As class is mentioned here, select star from EMP where department number is equal to 20. So the table is created. Those who are having the department number 20 are those who have percentage above 65. So it's just going to mention a condition. Based on that condition, I'm going to create a table. So this is about create a table with the content of the another table. Next, I'm going to show you the table content, which the constraint is correct, perfectly followed and created the new table successfully. So just I'm going to use the select star from new MP table name, centered with the semicolon. So it shows the content of the entire table, that is new MP. So note that the department number are same. So it follow the constraint perfectly. Those who are having the department number 20, uh, 20 is just copied from that existing table and dropped here as a new table. So that's it. So next we have the parallel option. So parallel option is used with the create table command. So the only thing to make use of the parallel option, so we are going to make use of the servers for parallel execution. So parallel execution at the time of creating a table. So once I follow the parallel option for creating a new table, to you make use of the servers which is already available, one or more servers available. So it should be followed for executing the same table content furthermore. So this is the benefit of parallel option. But you should note that so in which system you are going to create use which system you are going to use the make use of the at the time. So if you have any number of machines or any number of servers, you can use the parallel option. Otherwise, it is not mandatory. Just go with the simple create a table command. So create a table. Table name is mentioned as new EMP2 with the parallel option as select star from EMP. So the same example which we discussed in the last slide, but the difference is I'm going to mention the parallel option. So parallelism, it's a kind of parallelism is achieved here. So I'm going to create the table, that's the thing, but may with the help of one or more servers which is available in that. So when I execute the, when I try to insert a command or manipulate something with the same table, the parallelism is followed here. So to achieve faster execution, so this is a kind of provision which is followed in Oracle. Next, constraint disabling. So it's I already told you. So you can create a constraint at the time of creating a table command. Creating a table. So you can have the provision to enable a constraint or disable a constraint for a particular period of time to first of the data entry. So you can make use of the constraint disabling option for a period of time. So then you can able to enable the same constraint successfully. So there is a provision for that. So now I'm going to show you the example. Create a table name, which is department 1. I'm going to create a columns that is department number, department name, location, followed by the data type and the size and the constraint. Now I'm going to insert a data within that. So note that in the syntax primary key is disabled here. There is no primary key is followed for department number. Now, next I try to give a value for that insert so for a department 1 table, that is insert into department 1 values. Within that I'm going to give values for that particular table department 1. One row is created successfully. So again I'm going to feed the data for the same table, that is insert into department 1 values the same number. Just note that I'm going to give same number for department number for two datas. Then department name and the location is mentioned here. One row is created. It never shows that a primary key violation is here because I'm disabling the primary key. Then if I try to enable the constraint, it shows error. The next we have the modifying tables. Modifying tables. So modifying tables is mandatory to change for future activities. So if suppose I want to add a new column, so you no need to create a new table again. Just to make it, just do some changes in the existing table. Adding columns is not only the modification, so you can remove some columns and remove some constraint based on the current data and the current need. You can make use of the modifying table option. So what are all the things you can able to modify? What are the changes you may do with the help with the modifying options? So you can change the characteristics of columns. So characteristics means it represents the data type, size and the default value and storage parameters when it is related to table space or the data blocks, are removing or disabling the triggers. Once I created a trigger but don't want to continue this trigger now, so you can enable it or disable it, and the constraints associated within the table or within the column. So you can change it with the help of the modifying options. So constraints and limitations. Not all the parameters of the table can be changed. So you can have some limitation. You never touch or you will never do changes with some arguments. So there is a initial transaction and a minimum extents parameters. So you can't change these two when it comes to create a table command. But you can able to change the column with whether equity should be decreased or increased. You can make use of it. So this is about limitations and considerations. Next we go with the alter table command. So alter table command is responsible for the modifying tables. Its syntax is similar to create table command, but only thing the difference is we are going to mention lot of arguments when it is come to create table command. But in the alter table command, what are the parameters you want to change? That's the thing you are going to mention. So this is the major key difference between create table command and alter table command. To change the table space related to data blocks, we can make use of the following commands. This is an example for that. Alter table is the keyword here. Next, I am going to mention the table name and the arguments. That is, PCT free is changed to 30 and PCT used is changed to 60. So that's it. The table, the changes is applied here. Now the changes is followed in the mentioned table. So using the parallel option, we already discussed the parallel option, but the thing here is I forgot to mention the parallel option at the time of creation. But I want to continue the parallel option for further processing. At the table manipulation, I'm going to follow. So this is because you was just make up the process in a faster manner. So that's the aim of using the parallel option here. So processing is first up. So this is about parallel option. How we are going to implement it at the time of modifying the tables. That is alter table. Table name is mentioned here. Just the parallel keyword entered with the semicolon. So that's it. You can achieve the parallelism in the existing table. Enabling a constraint. How we are going to enable a constraint? There is an option argument which is already available, but how we are going to implement it perfectly? So I'm going to enable or perform a disable option at the time of altering the table. So follow the syntax. I'm going to apply it for department 1 table. That is alter table department 1 as mentioned. So enabling. Enable is a keyword as mentioned here. Which constraint I'm going to enable? That is primary key constraint. So primary key terminated with a semicolon. So it shows error because it is not possible to validate that particular table. So this error occurred because there are two rows with the same content for the primary key. In the before that two slides, I show you the example. Two content are created with the same number. That is same department number I mentioned 10 10 I mentioned. So I just remove how I'm going to solve this issue. Just I remove at least one row to enable this particular option. So in the next slide, I'm showing the content that is select star from department 1. Department number, department name and location is mentioned here. The data is stored in this table is 10 AAA and the location is also mentioned the same and department number again 10. After we delete any one of the row, the constraint is enabled perfectly. So just delete from department 1 where department name is equal to AAA. So the one row is deleted successfully. Now I can follow the enable constraint option in the table. Alter table department 1 that is enable primary key. So the table is changed successfully. Successfully I enabled the constraint. Changing a column. So how we are going to change the column? So we can change the characteristics of the column using the modify option and specify the characteristics of the column. So the following example adds a not null constraints to the salary column in the new EMP table. Just follow the implementation. Alter table. Table name is new EMP. Modify salary within the bracket salary number constraints not null underscore say a salary. So this is the name of the constraint and underscore salary and a not null. So not null is a constraint is actual constraint we are going to do. So after this modification we can change the values to 0 but we cannot assign null to the column. So 0 is one of the values should be accepted. So you never imagine that null and 0 are same. It should be a different one. So I'm showing the changes through the implementation. Update new EMP. Set salary is equal to 0 where EMP number is equal to some 7369. So this is the one row updated successfully. So update new EMP set salary is equal to null where EMP number is equal to 7369. So this is the thing. So when you are going to check that salary is equal to null, it shows error because I created a constraint for that. I'm never allowing the null constraint for salary column. So then only it shows the error message like this. It is not possible to update to null. Okay. So next I'm going to give you one more example related to alter table. Alter table department table name department 1 modify. I'm going to mention the new column in the department 1 table. That is column name is state and the data type is varchar 4. I am successfully created a new column in the existing table. So I want to add a value to that column, default value to the column. So I can created already the column, but I'm not mentioning the default value for that particular column. So this is the thing I can do with the help of the modifying table. Alter table name is new mp2, modify within the bracket salary default is 0 and the commission default is 0. So I'm giving 0 as a default value for two columns in the new mp2. So this is successfully changed in the new mp2 table. Adding a column. So I'm going to add a new column to that existing table. With the help of that add option, I can able to add a new column to the table. Alter table name is department 1. Add within that bracket, I'm going to mention that state as a new column name and the data type, the table name is changed. So when if I wish to ensure that the table accept the new change or it should be applied properly, you can make use of the describe option with the table name to check it again. Okay, so this is the way I am going to add a new column to the existing table. Eliminating a column. To eliminate a column, you can make use of the drop option. So this is the way I'm going to delete a column in the existing table. So alter table name is new mp2, drop the column name. So commission is a column name. I'm going to drop it from the existing table. So the table is changed again. So deleting a table. So this is the final manipulation when it comes to a table. If we want to delete a table from a database, so you can use the drop table command for deleting the table. So drop table name. So schema name is optional here. You no need to mention it again. Schema name is not a mandatory one. But schema dot name of the table is a syntax. So drop table name is demo1, table is drop library. Okay, that's it. Thank you.